Market structure analysis of e-commerce platform in the Philippines. These are the contents of our presentation: introduction, methodology, results and discussion, and summary. Introduction. Background of the study. The internet has altered the market condition and created new opportunities for businesses all over the world. The worldwide development of information technologies has introduced electronic commerce. Electronic commerce, also known as e-commerce, refer to the buying and selling of the goods and service using the internet, and the transfer of money and data to execute the transaction. E-commerce is frequently used to refer to the online purchase of real products, but it can also refer to any type of commercial transitions that is facilitated by the internet. The researchers also studied that the Philippines is a large and rapidly developing market for e-commerce. According to data of Statista, the Philippines e-commerce market revenue is USD 840 million in 2018 and have an annual growth for 12% with expected market volume of USD 1,322 million by 2020. The market for online shopping has long been dominated by famous and well-known e-commerce platforms here in the Philippines, such as Lazada, Shopee, and Zalora.
Objectives of the study. The study aims to analyze the market structure of e-commerce industry in the Philippines. Specifically, the study aims to analyze the pricing output decisions made by oligopoly competition, especially within the e-commerce industry. Study the market share of these industries so the market structure could be determined, and to evaluate the efficiency of the e-commerce industry in terms of resource allocation and market outcome.
For the scope and limitations, the research analysis will focus only under the industry of e-commerce to determine its market structure, analysis of the pricing, and output decision of an oligopoly competition under the e-commerce industry, and the evaluation of the efficiency of the e-commerce industry in terms of resource allocation and market outcome. The researchers will not conduct survey as a source of information. Instead, the researchers will be using existing studies as primary source of data. Only the research objectives will be discussed to maximize the analysis and evaluation of the study. Methodology. For research design, the research study will be qualitative study since the collection of data by the researcher is from the existing studies that discuss e-commerce. In order for the researchers to analyze the data and get an accurate result, the researchers will use graphs, charts, and tables for the results and discussion. The research is a market structure analysis. The method that the researchers will be using is a case study.
Methods of data collection. The collection of data by the researchers is from the existing study that discuss e-commerce. The data gathered will be relevant to e-commerce industry. The data gathered will be most accurate as the year of the existing study is close to the research being conducted. E-commerce industry is changing as time passes.
Data analysis. The main instrument that is used by the researchers are existing studies that are relevant to our research. Using the statistics and data that the researchers gather from existing studies, the researchers will analyze and evaluate the data using simple statistical techniques. The researchers will be using Herfindahl-Hirschman Index or HHI, which is used as a measure of market concentration that is used to assess market competitiveness prior and after mergers and acquisitions. The researchers will use graphical representation of the data and this interpretation to maximize the understanding of the industry's statistics. The data analysis of the study, the researchers must take into account economic theories and assumptions related to the study objectives, especially the e-commerce market's pricing and output decisions, efficiency, and market share while analyzing the data. Results and discussion. Figure 1. Sales of e-commerce industry in the Philippines. In Figure 1, e-commerce value is discussed to have better knowledge and growth of e-commerce here in the Philippines and to know what the future holds in store for Philippine e-commerce. According to Global Data's e-commerce analytics, in 2017, it had a value of 120 billion, 180 billion for 2018. For 2019, the value pumped into 205 billion, 210 billion for 2020, and 280 billion for 2021. In 2022, it is expected to reach 310 billion, 390 billion for 2023, 420 billion for 2024, and lastly, 490 billion for 2025. Figure 2. Demand of e-commerce industry in the Philippines. For Figure 2, the increase of online shoppers in the Philippines is a major factor for the growth of Philippine e-commerce industries. According to the ASEAN App, Insights and Trends of E-commerce in the Philippines, the table above shows that every year there is an increased demand of online shoppers. According to Statista, in 2016, there are 30.2 billion online shoppers in the Philippines, and it increased in 2017 by 33.8 million, 2018 increased by 37.7 million, 2019 increased by 41.9 million, 2020 increased by 46 million, and 2021 increased by 50 million, and for 2022 it increased by 53.8 million. Figure 3. Preferred online payment method in e-commerce in the Philippines. For Figure 3, according to ASEAN App, Insights and Trends of E-commerce in the Philippines, online shoppers in the Philippines most preferred online payment method in e-commerce with 47% is cash on delivery. The second preferred payment method of online shoppers is bank transfer with 42%, and for the least payment method is through credit card with 11% and PayPal with 1%.
For Figure 4, here is the market share of e-commerce product categories in the Philippines. According to Simon Kemp and Sarah Moe, travel has the highest market share in the product category with 78.09%, followed by electronics with a market share of 5.16%, and digital music, which has the lowest market share of 0.77%. The 6178.57 HHI or concentrating ratio indicates that the e-commerce product category is a highly concentrated market, which shows an oligopoly. For Figure 5, here is the market share of the top e-commerce platform in the Philippines. We have Zalora, Shopee, and Lazada. According to Romualdez, Lazada has the highest market share of 62.1%, followed by Shopee with a market share of 34.6%, and Zalora, which has the lowest market share of 3.3%. HHI 5064.46 with a high concentration ratio for the top e-commerce platforms in the Philippines, the possibility of acquiring more existing platforms, it can be assumed that the market structure would be oligopoly.
Inefficient of e-commerce industry in the Philippines. Resource allocation. Figure 6. Allocative inefficiency. The e-commerce industry is an oligopoly market where there are only few firms under the industry. The e-commerce industry in the Philippines has a high competition given that the firm under it have a lot of expense. For example, is the firm's marketing and advertisements. In Figure 6, there is a movement in the price that cause of decrease in consumer surplus and increase in producer surplus. In this figure, we can also see that the deadweight that cause of movement in the price. It also depicts its low competitiveness. Market outcome. Figure 6, short-run abnormal profit. E-commerce industry as a competitive market in oligopoly, it is a given that there will be a price war between the companies under the e-commerce industry. Every platform of e-commerce in the Philippines is a competitive market, that there will be a movement of AR and MR curve. A competitive market of oligopoly occurs if the industry has no form of collusion, which is called non-collusion, like the e-commerce industry in the Philippines. The Figure 7 shows the increase of demand will cause a decrease in price and increase of output, resulting in abnormal profit in the firm. Price and output decision. Impact of price changes of consumers' consumption in e-commerce platform. Figure 8. Price elastic demand curve. The degree of responsiveness in supply or demand to price changes is referred as elasticity. If a curve is more elastic, minor price changes will result in large changes in demand. In oligopoly that has a competitive market, it has an elastic demand curve in terms of movement of price. An elastic demand curve is an opportunity for using the price as a pricing strategy. E-commerce industry under a competitive market of oligopoly, the firm can maximize and use the advantage by changing the price. Lowering the price can have a large increase in quantity, vice versa. For the increasing of the price, the quantity will decrease. A small change in price will cause change in its demand. Sample the demand for the alternative platform, which is Lazada. will be reduced as a result of Shopee discount of price reduction.
Strategies of e-commerce platform. User experience strategy. Shopee and Lazada are both user-friendly platform because their applications run smooth and it is easy to check out their products. Shopee focuses on their desktop site while Lazada focuses on their phone application. Both of the applications it categorizes their product depending on what the shopper wants. And Shopee shipping depends on the location of the shopper, and Lazada mostly ships their products 2 to 3 days after purchasing. Marketing campaign and sales strategy. Shopee and Lazada have these monthly sales like 1 and 2. They also have payday sales, discount vouchers, free shipping vouchers, and Shopee Lazada introduces games to gain vouchers and discounts. Shopee have this game like called Shopee Shake where you will shake your phone and you will get a certain amount of vouchers for discounts. And Lazada games Bubble Crashers also gives you discounts and vouchers. Promotional strategy. Shopee and Lazada both have TV commercials, online media advertisements on Facebook, YouTube, and other social media platforms, and they both hire world-class artists like Jackie Chan as their brand ambassadors, and they distribute tarpaulins on local stores nationwide. And Shopee mostly do advertisements on hiring influencers on TikTok.
Summary. After analyzing the collected data with simple statistic method and HHI, it was found that Lazada, the top e-commerce platform which had the highest market share of 62.1%, followed by Shopee with a market share of 34.6%. The market share e-commerce product category obtained 6178.57 HHI, and the market share of e-commerce top platform obtained 5064.46 HHI, indicating a heavily concentrated market. E-commerce industry attaining a high concentration ratio shows a market structure of oligopoly. In resource allocation, a decrease in consumer surplus and an increase in producer surplus result in movement in price. In terms of market outcomes, the AR equals MR will move since every platform of e-commerce is a competitive market. It also shows that increased demand will result in reduction in price and an increase of output, likely to result in abnormal profit in the firm. E-commerce is an oligopoly which is also a competitive market and has an elastic demand curve in terms of pricing. Lowering the price can have a large increase in quantity. Vice versa, for increasing the price, the quantity will decrease. A small price will cause a huge change in its demand. Therefore, the price elasticity of demand in the e-commerce industry is relatively elastic.